Do you guys watch the new Chappelle special yet?
Yes, I loved
only
it.
read about it.
I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was so
saw
funny.
Highlights.
I saw people bitching and moaning. His best bit on there was
Is it on
like,
Netflix?
yeah, it
it's
is
on
on
Netflix.
People were like spurging out about it, saying that it was the most terrible thing ever, and it wasn't woke, and it was bad. And then I watched it, and it's like,
Fuck woke.
not
Of
only is
course,
this
it's not going to be woke.
yeah, it's like, first of all, you fucking idiots, you clearly never watched the Chappelle show. You never watched what he's actually done in the past, how hilarious that guy is. You don't care.
That is a man
You
who's
just
aged
wanted him to be
entirely
something.
different than I thought he would age physically.
Yeah, his eyes
I
are
would
so
never
his
have
eyes are
predicted how
so
Dave Chappelle
wet
looks
now.
these days.
I never expected his eyes to be so wet.
Absolutely, that's
They're just like soaking wet. Like you watch the special and you're like, this guy's
like he's out there
eyes
watching.
are dripping.
You know what else is wet? The inside of his mouth. Oh my god.
No, but not like this though. It would be like the equivalent of being like if someone's talking, but they have like white spit gathering on the corners, and like they just keep talking. There's more and more spit. Like he's sitting there talking, his eyes.
I can't
are
believe
like
I didn't
wet.
notice his wet eyes.
Yeah, look at back. They're drenched, man.
Was it because
Drenched.
he was probably like ripped out of his mind? Like
His eyeballs?
Dude, I have it on
soaking wet.
good authority. The entire inside of his body is soaking wet.
Definitely.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah,
man.
you got wet
He's, like,
bones in
made
that
of
body,
water.
don't you, Woody?
You know, I got.
You got some wet bones in there. We know about that bloody sponge. You know,
Anyway, I thought that
the one thing
special was-
about in Chappelle's special, and to audience at home that are gonna watch it, like spoiler-ish kind of. It's it's like I'm not gonna tell the joke, but like he's talking about the HBO special, the Michael Jackson one, and I thought the craziest thing out of the entire special, whatever he says, like literally fuck everyone, you know what I mean? When he's like that HBO special, I don't believe the motherfuckers. That's ballsy.
That wasn't
To come out and be like, these two guys who said that they were molested and just put on like a 4-hour documentary, like teary-eyed with their family, being like that Michael Jackson, all that, and him be like, I don't believe these motherfuckers. I watched the whole thing. That's ballsy.
I saw it through a different lens.
I thought that was ballsier. I thought that was crazier. I thought that was like, that's just like where my head goes at with everything that he spoke about. I was like, oh, that's the wildest thing he said.
So Harley, give me the floor for a second here. I went to a comedy special.
Bro, it's your show.
Steve Hofstetter did a thing in Raleigh, and it was fascinating to me the way he worked the crowd, right? So he goes up there, he talks about what bad crowds are like and how they say, I'm a hard laugh, and it's not easy to get me to react, and how gay that is. He didn't use gay, but whatever. And it primed the whole crowd to laugh a little more easily, and it worked. And it was just an expert who applied his craft. Now, back to Chappelle. Chappelle does impressions, right? And he can't do impressions. He did one, I forget what it was. Then another was like, duh, I don't like what you said. You kind of suck. You know what that impression is? That's you. That's you, the audience. That's what you look like to me every time you fuss about not being woke enough. And then
he literally does that bit. So how can anyone write articles about it after that?
So that leads into the Michael Jackson thing. He's basically saying, if you fuss at me, you're a dork. And then he does something that you would otherwise fuss at. And it was a kind of audience control that I thought was really neat.
It was neat, and I saw that, and he does that whole point where he's like, yeah, like, don't be that type of audience. I'm like, yeah, of course not. And he's like, those people that got molested by Michael Jackson, I don't believe him. I was like, oh
Right?
shit. I thought I was ready for some transgender
That's not
stuff
even the
or
bad part, Harley.
black.
You're
I'm like,
skipping
but you
over
went
the interesting
Michael
thing.
Jackson.
The interesting
That
thing
had
goes
me-
like this. He says, and if they did get raped by Michael Jackson, dude, you got raped by Michael Jackson. The rest of us all got raped by normal people. What do we get?
He
Awkward
did have that funny
Thanksgiving
bit where
dinners,
he's like-
right? We
he's
get
like,
awkward
that-
Thanksgivings. You get raped by Michael Jackson, which is pretty awesome.
You show up to school the next morning and you got
Exactly.
your dick sucked by the king of pop.
I
Yeah.
was like, hey Billy, how was your weekend? How was my weekend? Michael Jackson sucked my dick.
Right? So
Dude, it's hilarious.
there's definitely, it's funny. But the way that he crowd
the
controlled.
Jussie Smollett stuff killed it. I love that.
That was really
so
funny, too.
Good
He's
at the end. Yeah, like the last 15 minutes, guys.
We
at
all
home, he
know.
goes on this bit about Jussie Smollett, and he goes in. He goes in on that.
I'll have to watch
well,
it.
the R. Kelly
I like
was
his
stuff too.
You should, and then what's funny,
He's
like
been
people
picking on R. Kelly
I
for
know,
20 years.
Oh yeah, the R. Kelly thing. He's been making fun of him for a while, which I don't get enough of. I think it's hilarious. But it's funny that the same people who are like freaking the fuck out, being like, oh, this is so not woke. This is so punching down comedy. This is so bad. It's like, now try watching his show from 12, 13 years ago and tell me, because this special he just released makes his show, or I'm sorry, his show makes this special look very tame.
Are you
like
right?
His show was out there.
I don't remember
His
it like
show
that.
was
So
hilarious.
here, I remember the Charlie Murphy stories. He told two. One, of course, was the Rick James thing, and another, or the Prince one, right? They weren't punching down. And then what else?
I'm not saying he actually was punching. I hate those terms anyway, because it's just the way people try and relegate the kind of comedy you can do. But it's not that he did those things, it's that people are accusing him of doing that in this special. Meanwhile, it's like, have you ever seen his sketch where he's a black KKK member who's blind and has a white wife, and he's like,
not really. Why don't you quote it for us?
Oh, I'm gonna quote it and get our.
What are your favorite lines from that skit?
Well,
so if people haven't seen this sketch,
I divorced her for marrying a.
He's an incredibly racist.
Yeah, people haven't seen this skit. Yeah, you'll understand why we don't like why it's hard to enjoy YouTube skits after that, because we grew up with, like, I feel like the best sketch comedy ever, Dave Chappelle, SNL, and this is I thought this was one of the best written skits ever.
It really was. It was like the kind of thing that gets you to gut laugh, not just a titter. Like,
this is 20 years ago. People haven't seen it. They did. But basically, he's a black guy, David Chappelle, who thinks he's white because he's blind, and he's a KKK member, and he hates black people, and it's a pretty funny premise.
See, even the premise makes you laugh.
It is. It's like, if you said that, you're like, that's a whole show on Netflix in this day and age.
Yeah.
Go pitch the series to Netflix. Yeah. I always thought that the Chappelle Show was like some of the best skits ever, and that's why I watch some Instagram skits or whatever that exist in this day and age with millions of views, and I'm like, man, I grew up with Dave Chappelle skits. Some kid is out there growing up with this shit.
Yeah.
This shit right here.
Well, and it's because so many comedy troupes now are afraid of offending people, so they go with that haha so random humor.
Well, they're also really unfunny.
Yeah, they're also not funny.
And stupid.
And stupid.
Yeah,
and
but they were really handsome on Vine a couple years ago.
Soft dicks.
Man, they ain't got that blue chew.